If you're passionate about your photography, the 77D is a great camera to help you on your creative journey. In this video, we're going to take a detailed look at the 77D to help you get to know your camera. Let's get started. First off, to establish the connection between the lens and the camera, press down and make sure the white box on the lens and the camera aligns when working with an EFS lens, and the red dots align when working with EF lenses. The SD card can be found on the side of the camera. On the back of the camera, you'll find the on and off switch. Note that it has 3 modes, the third being for video. On the top of the camera, you'll see the exposure dial. Simply press the center button and rotate. If you don't press the center button though, the exposure mode will remain locked. On the back of the camera, you'll find the viewfinder. When you raise your eye to the viewfinder, the proximity sensor just above will take effect and block off the back of the screen so that you can work through the viewfinder. On the top here, you'll find the diopter, which allows you to adjust the focus through the viewfinder and set the camera to your eyesight. To take advantage of the camera's LCD screen rather than shooting through the viewfinder, simply press this button here. The camera also has a fully articulating screen, which makes it great for tricky compositions. The camera also is fully touchscreen enabled, which makes it great for pulling focus and quickly accessing exposure settings. To change the view on the LCD playback, simply cycle through the options on the info button. The electronic level is great for ensuring that your horizon lines are nice and straight, particularly when working with landscapes or anything with a horizon line, seascapes, as well as aligning different elements in your composition. The menu button will allow you to navigate through the entire menu system of the Canon camera. To quickly access any of the menu functions on the back of the LCD display, simply press the Q button. You'll also find the Q button accessible via the touchscreen functionality. If you navigate through the menu button, you'll see that there's a number of different systems within the camera. Red is for shooting, blue is for playback, and yellow contains all of your key settings. Many of the key functionalities that we change regularly as photographers are accessible via the back of the camera. At the back wheel, you'll find things like your white balance, autofocus options, your picture styles, which are great for manipulating the feel and look of an image, also for shooting monochrome. And you'll also find drive functionality, so for setting your self-timers, shooting in burst mode, or single shots. When you've selected the function that you want to program into the camera, simply set the set button and it will lock that function in. Above the scroll wheel, you'll find the Wi-Fi button. We've got a great how-to video which will explain how to connect your camera to your mobile device. There's a video for Android users and iPhone users. These buttons up here are also super useful. You'll find this button over here will allow you to select your autofocus option. You can also see that you can move the focus point. Back button focus is also enabled. And you'll find the button over here will lock in your exposure. On the back of the camera, you'll also notice that some of the icons are blue. These blue icons correspond to when your camera's in playback mode. On the back of the camera, you'll find the universal symbol for play, the blue triangle inside of the rectangle. This will enable you to play back your images. You can either use the scroll buttons on the back of the camera or use the touch face interface. When playing back an image, the magnifying glasses at the top of the camera will allow you to zoom in on the image and check for details like focus. And again, as the camera's touch screen, you can also pinch and pull. To erase an image, simply play it back and hit the delete button. On the top of the camera, you'll find plenty of critical buttons. The main button on the top of the camera here allows you to semi-depress to focus and fully depress to take a photograph. Behind that, you'll find the main wheel, which is often used for navigating through the menus, as well as changing different settings. And the wheel on the back of the camera here is useful for adjusting your f-stops. The lock button can be activated to ensure that you don't accidentally bump the aperture wheel partway through an exposure. You'll also notice that the camera has an LCD screen, which is great for displaying all the critical information required when taking an image. You've got a light button here which illuminates the LCD screen, your ISO button, And the third button here enables you to move your focus point around the screen. The main dial on the top of the camera is responsible for your exposure settings. Push the center button and rotate. You'll notice that it's divided up into zones. You've got options for creative and auto functionality. This icon here indicates the focal plane mark, which is where your sensor sits. It's great for macro photographers. On the top, you'll notice a hot shoe, which is great for adding accessories like additional flash units. And on the side of the camera, you've got a range of ports. There's an option for your mic. You've got an option to add an intervalometer or external remote, HDMI ports, as well as your microphones. On the front of the camera here, you'll find the depth of field preview button. This enables you to shut down the lens to a desired aperture to get an idea of what your depth of field will look like before actually taking the photograph. If you'd like to take advantage of the camera's inbuilt flash, simply push this button to the side here to enable your pop-up flash. I hope this video has helped you become more familiar with your 77D. To hear more, follow the link to the next video in the 77D series.